Before his death, Seth Rich was investigating several cases involving the DNC's electoral fraud and voter suppression and was set to testify on the case of Hillary Clinton's email investigation. The content of Rich's scheduled testimony remains unclear, but it does raise questions about the scandal involving the DNC. Wheeler, the private investigator, says that he has a good reason to believe that Rich was in contact with WikiLeaks and provided the site with tens of thousands of secret emails from the DNC. According to Wheeler, he was in contact with a federal investigator who had personally laid eyes on Rich's laptop. An FBI forensic report made just 96 hours after Rich's death shows that he made contact with Gavin McFadden, the director of WikiLeaks and a mentor to founder Julian Assange. The federal investigator, who requested to remain anonymous, said that sometime before May 21, 2016, Rich transferred 44,053 emails and 17,761 attachments belonging to DNC leaders. Those emails were dated from January of 2015 all the way to late May of 2016. On July 22nd, just 12 days after Rich was killed, WikiLeaks published the exact same number of DNC emails that were allegedly given to them by Rich, showing conspiracy against Bernie Sanders and ultimately leading to Debbie Wasserman Schultz resigning as the DNC chairperson. Incidentally, Gavin McFadden later died on October 22, 2016, just days before the presidential election. Rich's murder in July followed another unusual death of a former UN President, John Ashe. Authorities first reported Ashe's death as a heart attack, but later recanted statements after an autopsy report showed he died due to a crushed windpipe. Ashe died on June 22, 2016, just a few days before he was set to testify.
Kim.com recently made headlines in the Seth Rich case by confirming that Seth Rich was the DNC leaker. Huffington Post confirmed the story by saying, quote, Kim.com isn't part of any conspiracy theory. He accurately predicted Julian Assange would publish material considered to be Hillary Clinton's worst nightmare in a 2015 Bloomberg interview, end quote. Let's play that Bloomberg interview for you now.
What about Julian Assange? What's your relationship with him?
So what Julian Assange is doing, he's putting a spotlight on all these secrets.
How often do you talk to him?
Why is that important to you?
I'm curious.
Look, I like these guys, you know. I look up to them. I think they are very brave. They're going through a very hard time, you know, and they chose to do that for the betterment of all of us. So, yeah, I love to talk to them.
So, you said you were going to bring the internet party to the U.S. in 2016.
Yeah.
Why? What's your goal?
Well, because I think there's a big group of people out there that disagree with what's going on, you know. They want to have their privacy back. They want to have internet freedom.
You tweeted that you were going to be Hillary's worst nightmare in 2016. How so?
Well, I have to say it's probably more Julian. But I'm aware of some of the things that are going to be roadblocks for her. So, you know, if I can provide some transparency with these people and make them part of what the Internet Party stands for, then, you know, I will be happy to do that.
You're saying Julian Assange is going to be Hillary's worst nightmare in 2016?
I think so, yeah.
How so?
Well, he has access to information.
What information?
I don't know the specifics.
Why Hillary in particular?
Well, Hillary hates Julian. She is just an adversary of, I think, internet freedom.
And she signed your extradition request?
Yeah.
This 2015 interview perfectly foreshadows the events as they are known today. Kim.com said he knew leaks were coming in 2015, and the reason he knew is because he had contact with the leaker, Seth Rich. And now, if the Huffington Post says this is no longer a conspiracy theory, then everybody should be concerned, because now even publications on the left are saying that Seth Rich was the DNC leaker.
Let's talk a little bit about why the media blackout and the silence from Washington on the Seth Rich case should scare the hell out of you. You have a DNC staffer shot dead in the streets of Washington. Not only that, you have a mountain of evidence suggesting that he is the WikiLeaks source. Which means, by the way, because they're not idiots in Washington, that means people in Washington know he was the source. And I'm talking about Democrats and Republicans. Seth Rich is the card that would bring the entire House down. I'm talking the DNC, I'm talking the media. This destroys the credibility of anyone and everyone that's been pushing this Russia story. And if Republicans know that they have this card that can totally bring down the opposition, and I mean in a permanent way, and if they are not using that card, either the RNC has a vested interest in not taking down their opposition, and I'm talking about every senator and every congressman, because all it would take is one, putting a little pressure on the local police department, or one guy at the FBI with a little bit of weight, stepping in and say, hey, we have reason to believe this DNC staffer was the WikiLeaks source. We're going to take over this investigation. It just takes one. It just takes one. And the fact that not even one person involved in this fiasco has stepped forward and tried to do the right thing should scare the hell out of you. The one person with any kind of platform, Sean Hannity, steps up, decides to start asking the right questions. And what happens? What happens immediately afterwards? They try to crucify him. They are scared. This can't just be swept under the carpet. That's power they don't have anymore. So as terrified as you should be of this situation, I promise you they are more terrified. Seth Rich died trying to do the right thing. It's time people stood up and said, we're not going to take this anymore. We're not going to allow an elite class to shoot us dead in the streets like a dog. We're not going to allow a complicit media that's basically just a propaganda wing for the elites tell us what to think. The elites are so used to the rule of law not applying to them. It's escalated and escalated. It's escalated to the point to where they're literally murdering people right in front of us. I'm disgusted. And if you let them take down Sean Hannity or anyone else, you are saying it's okay to shoot us dead in the streets. We cannot let this go. We need justice for Seth Rich.
Massive breaking news story. Explosive developments in the mysterious murder of former DNC staffer Seth Rich that could completely shatter the narrative.
We are just 2 months shy of the one-year anniversary of Seth Rich's murder. And ever since we learned Rich was a DNC staffer, the conspiracy theories online have taken a life of their own. But today, Fox 5 has learned there is new information that could prove these theorists are, in fact, right. New information from the family's private investigators suggests there is tangible evidence on Seth Rich's laptop that confirms he was communicating with WikiLeaks prior to his death. Now, the question is, why has D.C. police, as the lead agency on the investigation for the past 10 months, insisted this was a botched robbery when till this day there is no evidence to suggest that? The Rich family hired Rod Wheeler, a former MPD homicide detective, to run a parallel investigation into their son's death. Wheeler says he believes there's a cover-up and the police department has been told to back down from the investigation.
The police department nor the FBI has been forthcoming. They haven't been cooperating at all. I believe that the answer to solving his death lies on that computer, which I believe is either at the police department or either at the FBI. I've been told both. But you have sources at the FBI saying that there is information that could link Seth Rich to WikiLeaks? Absolutely. Yeah, and that's confirmed. Actually, I have a source inside the police department that has looked at me straight in the eye and said, Rod, we were told to stand down in this case, and I can't share any information with you. Now, that's highly unusual for a murder investigation.
It made contact with somebody from the Democratic National Committee's office, and they've been served. Democracy has prevailed today.
But in a bizarre twist of events, on August 2nd, less than 1 month after serving the subpoena, Lucas was reported dead. Police are not releasing the cause of death at this time and are not commenting on speculation that Lucas was murdered. His unusual and sudden death is fueling speculation about the recent death of Seth Conrad Rich. Rich, a DNC employee, was working on several committee cases involving voter and election fraud before he was murdered by gunshots. He was also set to testify in the FBI's email investigation of Hillary Clinton before he was killed. Authorities have ruled his death as a robbery gone wrong, but police records indicate nothing was stolen from Rich. His recent mysterious deaths appear to be something stranger than fiction.
Rich's murder made national news because of his job with the Democratic National Committee as the Director of Voter Expansion Data.
That was just a robbery, I believe, wasn't it?
No, there's no finding. So
what are you suggesting? What are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting that our sources take risks, and they become concerned to see things occurring like that.
But was he one of your sources then? I mean,
our sources face serious risks.
But it's quite something to suggest a murder. That's basically what you're doing.
We are investigating to understand what happened in that situation with Seth Rich.
But was he one of your sources then? I mean...